You got it.
Welcome to Synced on Air, brought to you by Turfs Up Radio. I'm your host, Angelique Robb from Synced, and today I have Kevin Battistoni. Did I say that right?
You did. It's a nice short Irish name and easy to pronounce. So, you know, growing up, I come from a wrestling family, so I've heard that last name when they're like Battistoni, Matt too. Over here, like my entire life, I've heard it butchered so many different ways. So when somebody actually says it right, it's like
I just can't help but feel Italian when I say it.
it has that effect. It definitely
Yeah.
has that effect.
So Kevin is with us from Hunter Industries. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
This is going to be a fun one today, and I'm really excited to not only talk about the fundraising that you were doing and the competition with Geo Ripper earlier, what, 2 months ago? 2 months ago, yeah.
Yep.
And into that, but also your new role with Hunter and what it's about, and go from there. So lots to talk about because you're also going to be at Sync Live, so we're going to touch on that at the
Yes.
end too.
I'm very
So
excited about that.
me too. Well, good. Well, let's start with so your experience in the industry. You've been with
Yeah.
Hunter quite a while.
Yeah. In the green industry, at least through the optics I've been exposed to, you have it's a triangle relationship between the contractor, the manufacturer, and the wholesale distributor, right?
Yep.
So vast majority of green industry manufacturers sell through wholesale distribution. So my family's been in the contracting side of the irrigation industry for 96 years.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm fourth generation dirt surgeon. And at a young age, I pivoted into supply chain because sometimes the family dynamic of small green industry businesses, it was my brother was my boss, and we both lived under the same roof, and it was
Ooh.
rough. And I think sometimes when you're working with family, we expect them to know things that we've never taught them, and we treat them with an acid tongue when they don't know what we haven't taught them. And so there was a lot of that
You're
going on.
supposed
And
to share the brain waves. Is that the idea,
exactly,
huh?
yeah, why don't you know what's in my head, right? These expectations. And so yeah, I took a 50% pay cut in when I left. My brother was paying me $16 an hour in 19 as a 19-year-old in
Okay.
1997, right? Insane. Good money. And it's like you have two paychecks, personal satisfaction for your job, and the other one you can cash. And so I left there and went to work pushing a broom in a green industry supply distributor for minimum wage for eight
To
dollars
get
and
away from
fifteen
your brother.
cents. Yeah, yeah, took a 50% pay cut, and
You were
and
happier.
they embraced me. I was. It was a very. I'm so very happy that my mother encouraged me to do that. And so I got to learn a lot about what it's like being a contractor, because
Yeah.
I still have three family members that own green industry companies, and interact with them. And I think it's important, even though in the evolution of my new role, to keep one foot in the trench, so to speak,
Yeah.
to the voice of customer. So then spent 11 years in distribution, in
Okay.
over those 11 years, like I said, I came in at here's the broom, keep the floors clean for us. And then you inside sales. We had an opportunity when I was 21 where we lost 3 or 4 employees that went on to greener pastures. And so an opportunity at 21 came up for me to run a branch.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was scared to death. But my boss is like, he's still a good friend. He's retired now, George Barthow. He goes, Kev, if you go up there and you fall on your face, you come back here and you still got a job. He goes, but I know you can do it. And I'm like, okay. So it was like,
Oh,
okay, if
wow.
I fail, I still have work. And then from there, went into outside sales after that. And that was when I found my gear. I found my happy place, like being outside and being able to travel to different job sites in different green spaces and watching people craft them. And then
Hmm.
irrigation, of course, the insurance policy on that green space was cool. And then, yeah, I was 30 years old when there was an open position at Hunter, and I saw how they treated their employees because I had friends that worked there. I saw how they
Hmm.
treated their contractors. And I sold their product and installed it when I was a contractor, but sold it in distribution. I saw how they treated their distributor partners. And this is, I tell the story sometimes. I went out in '05 to visit the factory, and I was with my buddy, Dan Taglia, who works in distribution, and a young, naive, chip on your shoulder kind of kid. And halfway through the tour, I bumped my buddy Dan and I go, "What's up with all this BS?" And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Yeah, everybody looking happy. I'm like, what does an email come out? Like, hey, we have customers, pretend like you like your job." And and he called me out on the carpet. Steve Hovland, who's a product manager at the company to this day, Dan goes, "Hey, Steve, Kevin thinks this is a bunch of crap." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I was there for another day and a half getting educational things that Hunter was putting on, learning more about the brand. And I fell in love in that trip. And if there was ever an opportunity, that was '05, to come to work for him. So in '07, when a spot opened up, 30 single and will travel, I'm like, sign me up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and from that point on, honestly, it's been like the job lottery. I honest to God, I mean, nobody likes every aspect of what they do, and that's life, right? There's those
Yeah.
things, but
It's
I
called work for a reason. Yeah.
yeah, I don't go to work. I go to fun at this place. And the culture of this company, well, I mean, we have a work hard, play hard culture, but even as you grow to an organization of over 5,000 people, it still is family owned and operated. And it has that feel. Greg Hunter, when he was the VP of sales, who's now our CEO, he traveled with me for a week.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
I mean, I'm kind of a maniac, right? And everybody kind of knows that. So, I sacrifice sleep for opportunity, and
For fun.
yeah. And well, what I call fun, most people don't call fun. So, I put on there, hey, 4 a.m. because I asked my boss at the time. I said, "What do you want me to do with Greg?" And he goes, "Kill him. Do exactly what you do every day, but bring him with you." And I'm like, "Okay." So I put on the agenda 4 a.m. workout. And now to him, that's 2 a.m. because he lives in California, right? And he
Okay.
looks at it. I'm picking him up from the hotel on Monday night, and he's like, or from the airport rather. He goes, 4 a.m. optional workout. I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Seriously?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, I'm in." And 3 days in a row, he's in the gym working out with me at
Yeah.
4. We bonded over that week together. But it's like a year ago, he called me up and said, "Hey, you cover St. Louis, right?" I said, "Yeah, why? What's up?" He goes, "Well, my daughter just got an internship with Boeing, and I was just wondering, like, when you're down there, if you could just reach out to her if you're going to do like a customer dinner or something, bring her with. She's just we don't have family there." And it's like,
Yeah.
that's when we had our global
That's pretty
sales.
cool.
Oh, we had our global sales meeting in August, and he and his wife Wendy opened their home up to 150 of us, and I had to use the bathroom, and the two were occupied, and he's like, "Oh my God, no, this way." And he like walks me into he and his wife's bedroom. He's like, "Use that bathroom right there." You know what I mean? And that's not just for me, that's all the employees. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
if you look at culture in a company, it comes down to one thing: leadership.
Mm.
And that sets the tone. And it's to see that anchored down for 3 generations. It's like I said, I believe their core values and mine perfectly align. And it is just a absolutely wonderful place to work.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm very
Oh,
lucky.
great. Yeah. I didn't know that about Hunter. So I think it's great that you shed a light on that. And so tell us about your new role that you're having fun in.
Yeah, look, it
It's
kind
not
of
that new, but what,
no,
a year?
it's been a year.
Okay.
When COVID hit, I did not know if I was going to have a job. I didn't know what it was going to do to our industry, and so I pivoted really hard into digital engagement to try to find a way to be relevant to my customers when I couldn't see them face to face.
Mm,
And so for the first 2 years, we crafted content and put it out on like our team Facebook page, but I never did anything personally off of my professional feed. But I joined all these groups, and all I would do for the first 2 years, I didn't post any content. I would just answer questions. So if somebody had a tech question that was within my skill set of, my narrow window of drainage, landscape lighting, irrigation, I would answer it, even if it wasn't the products I represented. And
mm,
making all these deposits in there kind of like moved your digital recognition up as like a top contributor, so
yeah.
things of that nature. And then began to feed content in I'll call self-serving Hunter and FX Luminaire, who signs my check. into those groups, and they allowed the content to go through because I had made enough deposits into that equity bank of that relationship. And then it became this thing that was bearing so much fruit, but I also had a 2-state territory to cover.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of Hunter Industries. At the time, the vice president of sales globally, Denise Mulliken, I called her up and I said, Denise, you got a few minutes for me? And she said, yeah, what's up? And I said, well, I'm interviewing for 2 roles within the organization because I want to contribute at a higher level, but my heart's not in either one of those, but it's an opportunity that's available today. And she goes, well, okay, I encourage you to go through that exercise in those interviews, because if nothing else, you'll learn more about when leadership interviews you. Yeah, they're absolutely. You're going to establish a better relationship with people up the chain of command. And I thought that was a cool perspective. And she goes, I said, but what I really want to do is this thing that I've been doing, but it's wearing me out because I'm kind of
doing 2 roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, Kevin, I encourage you to follow your heart. And I said, well, what that looks like to me is Monday morning, I'm going to have a job description on your desk for a position that doesn't exist today within the company that I think is very relevant. And she said, I welcome it. And from there, she pitched it to leadership, and she actually gave me an opportunity to talk to the board of directors at the organization, because quarterly she was giving like 15-minute updates, and they specifically asked, they said, hey, we want to know what sales is doing domestically that aligns with our core values, that's keeping us relevant in this COVID times. And she goes, I wrote down a handful of things, and she's like, next to them, your name was on all of them. She goes, so you do mind just doing the update for me? And it was so eternally grateful for that opportunity. And since that point in time, Denise has been promoted to the president of the organization for Rescom irrigation and landscape lighting.
Yeah.
And if you just like the tenure on the people at the company is unreal. So this new role is I see myself as a digital salesperson that is a conduit between marketing and sales at Hunter. So I'm still part of the sales side, and I'm a born salesman. That's just, I do it without even knowing I'm doing it. And so you found your niche, right? When people are like, I want to buy one of those air fryers now, Kevin. And I'm like, oh, I was just telling you how I like to cook my salmon. They're like, well, you made it sound like we need one of those, like accidental on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's the pivot at this point. For 20 some odd years of my career, I called on contractors and distributor partners. And now my customers are our domestic sales team. So it is, I travel more on a national level, and it's, as my boss, Will Irving, says, is my job is to put resources on opportunity. And he said, Kevin, you're the resource. And so if there is opportunities where, I try to stay ahead of the curve with everything. I mean, Hunter gives us $5,500 a year for higher education. And for the last 2 years, I've been taking classes at MIT on everything from AI to digital engagement. And a lot of my passion lies in face-to-face speaking with contractor groups. Because most states require continued education for the lines of business in which we sell. These entities and these expos are always looking for people with relevant content. And irrigation is not very high tech, although the infusion of technology has come into our industry as well and done some wonderful things, and will continue to do more. But I look at things from the perspective of the end client who's going to be buying the product. And I look at it from the eyes of the contractor and what that sales cycle looks like and what their digital experience is with our brand. And I think what I've been able to do thus far in conjunction with sales is to simplify things. Looking at it from a contractor's perspective, if we come out with a new part, okay, I ask myself this, I go, okay, Kevin, you're a contractor. Tell me why this is important and how I implement it into my business. You know what I mean? Because if I'm,
because that's what matters to the contractor.
Yes. That's what matters to the contractor. Yes. And so when we got into the world of connected devices, Wi-Fi irrigation controllers, it's a huge smart home market is $1 billion a year industry.
Mm.
And I noticed that there's a hesitance from a lot of green industry professionals because we have a little bit of a primitive nature, right? I got into this industry not because I was going to be a techie, but because I like to dig holes, right? And
Yeah.
that's the and so being able to grab data from our tech support team, and they're like, hey, 90% of the phone calls we're getting for tech help on connect our Wi-Fi based controllers is connectivity related. It's got nothing to do with our software. It's got nothing to do with the hardware. They just can't get it connected to the local area network. And it's like the light bulb goes off and it's like, okay, well, we have to train our customers and upskill them and make them as
Comfortable and
confident
yeah,
as they are,
confident.
as I would say, it's like, I love to get in front of a group of people and say, if you're in front of your clients and they ask you a question about irrigation, you peacock, your chest is out, your shoulders are back, all your feathers are up, because you know with absolute certainty, you know more about irrigation than the person you're talking with. And when
Yeah.
it comes to the world of connected devices, 70% of communication is nonverbal. It's body language, it's vocal inflection. And so we don't even realize how defeated we look to the client, and the body language we're giving off is going, oh no, Joe's really good at lawn sprinklers, but I can tell by how he responded, he doesn't
He
want to put
doesn't
it this. Yeah, he
he
doesn't
doesn't
want to put
want
the
the
controller on.
Wi-Fi, yeah, controller.
And
Yeah.
anytime you can leverage technology to improve your customer's experience with your brand, bring a higher level of service to them, then it would behoove you to not look at it. And I think in our industry, those that don't adapt to technology are going to get crushed.
Yeah.
It,
I think we're pivoting quicker because of COVID than I think we had the tools to do it way before then, but COVID has sped up the adoption of those technologies and there's no going back.
there isn't. And you'd hit the nail on the head. It's sped it up across every demographic.
Mm.
My
I think
92-year
especially
old.
homeowners, you know? Yeah, you're sorry, you were saying.
No, I was going to say, my parents weren't very tech savvy. My grandparents weren't very tech savvy. They are now. They all have. My grandma
Yeah,
has a tablet and she can play games on there, order groceries, do whatever. You know what I mean? She
yeah.
could figure out how to run a Wi-Fi clock. So yeah, I think it was somebody at Microsoft, and I don't know whom it was, but they said we saw a decade of tech evolution in 18 months in terms of a tech
Oh,
adoption.
that's
Adoption.
interesting. I
Yeah,
haven't heard that because I felt that, in like the Zoom calls and all this stuff and all that. Like we would do it, but everybody preferred to do it in person meetings or whatever.
for
And
sure.
so you could do video calls, oh, but it felt like you were being lazy, you know,
Yes.
before
Yes.
COVID, and now it's a way of life. So
Oh,
very different. But that's interesting. I really like how it's quantified in 10 years of tech adoption in
yeah.
18 months. I think that's really neat.
No, absolutely. And I mean, look, we could talk about technology and in the smartphone, and I mean, this is like my space, right? I
Yeah.
look at it. Well, it's that's what really solidified the role for me, is the relevancy of the average 86% of the global population own a smartphone. 86% of the global population do not have running water or a roof over their head, but they're walking around with a $1,200 device in their pocket because it's soon it's the only way you can do anything, right? But it's
Yeah.
also cell phone obsession. Average screen time per day globally is 5.5 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so out of the 86% of the 8.1 billion people on the planet that own a smartphone and spend that 5.5 hours a day, 5.9 billion are on social media. And the average amount of screen time they're spending daily is 2.5 hours. So you need to meet your customer where they're at, because
Where they're at.
you can't drag them where you want them to be.
Yeah.
So that is the vehicle and what social media really allowed to do. And like for me, I'm looking for green industry professionals. Great. You can go right into a dense pond packed with green industry professionals, right? They
Yeah.
join the Hardscape Contractors of America. There are 40,000 people in there that do hardscape, right? Well, I
Yeah.
happen to make landscape lights for hardscape. So, it's a complete, the hype machine of social media can take you places if you know how to catch a ride, and
Yeah.
it doesn't happen overnight, but it consistently exercising that muscle. It was just like, I was being able to influence business from all over the United States from my basement was like, this is wild. But when you go places and people, have a connection to you, they walk up to you and it's strange at times because they're acting as if they know you, because they do to a degree, because they see your content and they see your feed, they interact digitally. And yeah, it's a strange deal, but every day is exciting for sure. I don't know where
Well, and I was really just asking your new title, but anyway, no, I'm just
yeah, I know. No, I listen, you can, there should be like an automatic like mute button, like duct tape over my mouth type thing. But yeah, so the traveling around,
National Customer Experience Manager.
and that was, there were so many different things. Like I'm looking at brand ambassador, customer experience manager, and so people, I don't care about titles. I truly do not.
And I'm just picking, but like I guess I'm trying to, you're talking about all the engagement, and I love that. And I was like, he never once said what the job is. So, but I think that makes sense. National Customer Experience Manager.
We make a very concerted effort at Hunter Industries to make sure that we're easy to do business with, and we want it. I feel like I'm a part of. I get to be a part of that, and like I said, anytime I can see something where, we got to kind of sand down that edge or nerf this corner, with digital engagement, people are lazy and impulsive. So if they see something, it intrigues them, they need to be able to make one click.
Yeah.
One click and done. And that's being easy to do business with. And so I do a lot of training on helping contractors update their websites, create their social media, because if you look at it, your website is still the most relevant thing. It's the light at the end of your social media tunnel.
It's your home. Yeah.
You got it. Yeah, that's where you're trying to drive your customers to be. And people, 50% of small business websites are outdated.
I believe that.
And it's a statistic that out of, I don't know how big the focus group was of single family homeowners, and they asked, 70% said they judged the credibility of a company based on the aesthetic of the website alone.
Wow.
So it's like, once you take, and I had a million of those moments doing a lot of research, but it was like, okay, accept this, digest it as fact. And once you do, now make proper adjustments, because the last 3 years, COVID's been so good to the green industry.
We've been running ragged. Yeah.
We've been running ragged, and all the contractors I work with are making more money, and they're charging as they should. And that's important. And I feel COVID has made the green industry more important as a whole, and we'll keep that momentum going for sure. But it's trying to, sorry, need a sip. Sorry about that. I should have hit my little off button there.
Okay.
So training them on how to get started, just like you and I were talking before we went on. And I'm a practitioner. I'm not a theorist. Yes, I take higher education and I learn as much as I can there, but it's all been fractional in value to the I've logged almost 7,000 hours of digital engagement time between social media, webinars, and trainings in the last 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, from exercising the muscle, and with social media, throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. So I want everybody in the industry to be making money. And now that the economy's gotten to a more normal level.
Not overinflated. Yeah.
Correct. It's now, if you want to outperform market conditions, the number one thing that sells your work is referral. So your good work sells more good work. Okay. So if all things are equal, but your web presence is outdated, that could be the difference maker, because 66% of homeowners, After somebody pitches to them on a something for their home, exterior service, if the contractor doesn't leave with the contract signed, 66% of those homeowners are going to their website afterwards.
Mm.
And labor is an issue in our industry. And I try to just wake contractors up to say, hey, if your digital footprint doesn't look sexy, guess what? When you're trying to hire people, there's a paradigm shift. They're interviewing you now. You're not interviewing them anymore. And so they're saying, why should I come to work here?
It
And
should be both ways. I think, it has to be the right fit for the company, but also for the employee. I don't think it's one way, but yeah, no, you're right. It's even from employee point of view.
Without question. So when they're done interviewing somebody, don't think for a moment they're not going to your LinkedIn, they're not going to your website. You know what I mean? And if it doesn't show very well, that could create an apprehension for them wanting to come on board with your company.
Yeah.
Are they up with the times?
I didn't know you were helping contractors with, pointing out things like that. I think that's great.
Yeah, the tracks that I'm booked from until the third week of April right now. So in Q1, we're in a seasonal market. When the grass is green, we must make hay. And I still have enough vigor and energy and desire to get with as many contractors as I can. But the tracks that I give right now are Wi-Fi fundamentals for green industry professionals. That is the number one requested one. It's very
interesting.
Yeah, they leave that 1 hour with a tactical standard operating procedure blueprint to capitalize on the smart home stuff. So I teach them how to read Wi-Fi signal bandwidth, how to troubleshoot connectivity issues, and then give them the professional vocabulary so that they look like the subject matter expert, because the words are powerful. And when we devalue the services we provide, would not intentionally, and I'm guilty of doing it myself as well, people expect that to be inexpensive. Right. Yeah. So it's about building up their confidence, training them with a couple of free apps on their phone.
That's a great idea.
The other one is onboarding new employees. Welcome to the team. Now grab a shovel. That particular track, I interviewed 5 companies that I've known for multiple decades that always outperform market conditions, have a high retention level, don't have as much difficulty finding new employees. And I wasn't going to interview anybody where it's not real. Like when you walk into these companies, or some of these guys walk into the supply house, they're peacocking a bit, right? Because they're like, hey, I work for so and so, and everybody knows that. They're like, oh yeah, that's a good company. There's a culture. And so I interviewed these 5 companies, the owners, and they opened up their playbooks, which is in the spirit of a rising tide raises all ships. Yeah, they're like, hey, here we had a high turnover in our service department. Here's what we did. We implemented exit interviews. We did this, we did that. And it corrected that. So I tell those stories again, not just sharing the word of those contractors. I do State of the Green Industry, I call it, where I host a live tech survey. So I've been in this industry so long, you get into a room and there's a speaker up there, and they start asking real questions that everybody in the room wants answers to, but they're in the room with other competition, so they're not going to open up.
Okay.
So I use this software called Poll Anywhere, and I build the questions. I just did it yesterday morning in St. Louis for about 50 contractors, and I tell them, hey, look, if you don't participate, you don't get anything, and if you give bad data, you get bad data in return. But it allows everybody in the room to get naked, but nobody can see each other's face, right? So nobody knows where the text who hit A. Yes, I'm up 10% this year. And I ask those real questions, like how much did you grow year over year? What is your profit margin, up or down? What are your biggest barriers to growing next year? All the stuff people want to know, like what do you pay your average field employee? And then I'll mine the entire nation for that data for the next 5 months. And then I share it with all the contractor groups, and anyone else that wants that information. The Irrigation Association I copied kind of their blueprint. They send out a survey to 1,600 companies throughout North America, from 100K in top end revenue to 50 million. Right. Okay. And it's all leadership people that they're interviewing. And during COVID, I used to use their magazine as a spot to put my coffee cup, and I finally opened it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, there's really good information in here. So I just replicated their questions. And then I also share the Irrigation Association's survey results at the end.
Okay. Yeah.
Here's something interesting for you. So if you show people survey results and then ask them a question, what they saw in the survey results will influence how they answer. So I always go clean slate first. Like, I'm going to ask this room this question,
Yeah.
get an honest answer, and that's why they say the same thing. It's called the J curve. So you ever notice when you look at reviews on Amazon, it's either 5-star or 1-star, right? Because when somebody comes in, if there's a lot of 5-star reviews, they're like, oh, boom, 5, give it a 5. You know what I mean?
Oh
Or
my
yeah,
goodness. Yeah.
yeah, it's that one of the things I learned in one of the digital engagement classes, but it's
Oh, that's
interesting.
funny. Yeah.
And so after the state of the green industry, the other tracks that I've got going, I'm working on one right now. I just completed a course on artificial intelligence and business strategies and implementation. I've got a couple more I'm going to take next year as well. And I have immersed myself. I use AI every day and have since May. And I can give you the cadence to that if anyone's interested. But what I want to do my next hour is I want people to be able to come in for an hour and walk out and be able to take action and attach
Do
some
things
level of
better. Yeah.
attach some level of AI. Because for me, I use ChatGPT and Grammarly Premium for all my social because I'm dyslexic, or I have dyslexia. And so for me, I do talk to text into ChatGPT. The more commands you give it, the better it is. I'll say, hey, I need to send Angelique an email. I want it to sound joyful and engaging. I want to keep it short, under 100 words, and this is what I'd like to convey to her. And then it'll spit out what it thinks. And if you don't like what AI gives you, it's not that AI is not smart. It's you haven't given it enough instruction. And you can go back and forth. I mean, I've typed, I've created 2-page outlines for all day trainings in 30 seconds. And then I take that, copy it, paste it into Grammarly Premium. It goes through all the edits, commas, grammatically makes it perfect. And then it'll give you grades like, hey, this on a 1 to 5, this is a 4 in terms of joyful. This is a 3 in terms of engaging. You tell it what you're after. Yeah. And then I copy paste and push out. But it's really streamlined a lot of processes being a content creator, where an area for me that was lesser strength is actually now, with attaching a little AI to it, is an area of greater strength for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
oh my goodness, we're gonna run out of time. You have so much to say.
Yeah,
no,
I'm sorry. So I've got a couple other tracks too. I teach what digital engagement, social media, and the world of the now customer. That's another one. And then of course I'm fluent in all of our products because I'm an irrigation and lighting nerd. So that's that.
Yeah.
And my intention is to educate, innovate, and entertain. And
I love it.
Yeah, that's
I think that's where we started talking, I guess, gosh, when did we meet? Like a year and a half ago, or?
I saw you on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I reached out to you. And I was because I was inquisitive. One of my initiatives in my role is to build relationships with non-competing vendors and news publications and so on and so forth, and like a spirit of a rising tide raises all ships. And when I read some of your content and your posts, I'm like, this is a woman I need to reach out to. The first time we had that 15-minute virtual, I said, give me the elevator pitch on SYNKD. And you got the hook in my mouth, and the bobber went down, and voila. And it was so funny because Tessa Norton, who is our director of marketing globally, I had a meeting with her in March of this year, and I noticed on the desk, side desk in her office, that your news publication was sitting there. And I'm like, you're on Tessa's radar, right? What I mean? So, and then I said, have you met Angelique or spoken with her? Because I think that was right after you and I began talking. But no, I love what your publication is about, and it aligns with our core values as an organization. I hope to just continue to Hunter Industries and FX and myself personally to work with you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, I was going to ask you about you're an adjunct instructor too? Do we have time
Yes.
for that
Yeah, I can give you that. I can
conversation?
give you 100%. So college, I went to what we call UCLA, and that is university closest to the Lombard area. All right.
Okay.
In the Lombard, Illinois,
What's
right?
lumbar? Okay.
Yeah, close to where I live. That was just a fancy way of saying you go to a junior college, right?
Okay.
Happens to be the second largest junior college in the nation. And so when I graduated high school, I graduated by the skin of my teeth. I was held back in 6th grade. I mean, it was not for me, but the next evolution, because that's what everybody's doing, was go to college.
Yeah.
And I got kicked out of college. And we won't go for the reasons why. Or I got politely asked to leave and told if I did not leave that I would be escorted out.
Escort.
And this particular college has 250 acres of green space irrigated with all Hunter products. So I had a little bit of interaction with them through that process, but their horticulture department is just outstanding. And Brian Clement, who is the head of the horticulture department, reached out to me and said, do you mind coming in occasionally and talking to some of our landscape classes? I said, absolutely, because labor is the issue. So if you got hungry learners that are in horticulture classes, I can help facilitate relationships for them, internships, like what
Oh,
state, what
yeah.
city do you want to work in, and what line of the green industry? And that being that
Connect
conduit,
people. Yeah.
100%. And that's really, our salespeople are just so insightful. So it's just like a natural thing we do. And he asked me if I wanted to teach a landscape lighting class there. And I said, do I get a parking pass? And he said, yeah. And one of the reasons is I got in trouble for parking in the wrong area 20 some odd years ago. That was there was a multitude of reasons why I was politely escorted out. But so I said, this story is too good. I got kicked out of here 20 some years ago. And now you're asking me to come back and teach. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So
Did you
yeah,
ever pay that parking ticket?
I didn't.
Ah!
Yeah. We live by, you got to be good or be good at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's fun. I can't commit like I could before because it's a spring class. One of my mentors in landscape lighting last year took it over. And so I was so happy to see that, because Terry D, he came from a film background. What he taught me, I just feel like there's been so many people that have mentored me in my career that over time, right, these skills have built up, and it's like you look back and you're like, my God, am I lucky, to be able to, he's semi-retired, and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for something on the side. I'm like, I got it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, again, connecting opportunity to
put resource on opportunity.
Resource. Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, we only have like about 15 more minutes left.
You can ask, because I talk too much. You just ask questions.
No, you don't talk too much. No, it's great. I mean, I love it. But one of the topics that we're talking about at Sync Live is about doing things smarter when it comes to water management, and I don't want to give any illusions of what I'm not trying to say. We don't need irrigation. I'm saying we need to be smarter about it. And I think, I approached you about, our business owners and leaders that are coming to Sync Live. I want to show them how to add more to their business to be smarter and to lead. And just like you're talking about connecting opportunities, you said, fantastic. You want to be involved and talk about, and for lack of a better word, water management in our industry.
Yeah.
But we need to raise the bar in that side of things. And you're coming to our event and going to be talking about it, representing Hunter.
Absolutely.
So you said that was something that you're really passionate about.
So what's interesting, we have been making, in general, our competitors as well, we have been making products that are what we call EPA WaterSense approved, right? By the federal government. And now what's happening, and it's happening quickly, and I'm so very grateful to see it happen. It's been averaging like 2 states a year for the last 3 years, have been making mandates for some of these EPA WaterSense approved products. So like a spray head, which is a pop-up sprinkler that you know what they look like because there's no rotation happening. They just go 10 feet in a half circle, right? Or
Yep.
whatever the arc and radius is set at. Universally, all manufacturers agree that if you regulate the water to the nozzle down to 30 pounds of pressure, it's going to give you the maximum in terms of evenness of efficiency in what we call distribution uniformity, how it's applied to the
Okay.
green space. And so now there's over, I think, 11 or 12 states in the United States that's it. That's all you can use. And I visited
Okay.
Boston 2 weeks ago and went in a distributor brick and mortar, and I noticed all they had was pressure regulation, and it is the law in the state. But contractors are always like looking, not always, not, and I just, but it 2 inches in front of their face. Like if this one cost $1 and this one cost $1.50, I'm going with the one that's the lesser cost. But and so I asked the guys at the branch, I said, when the law got kicked in, were there contractors that still wanted you to stock the non-regulated stuff? And they said, no, we didn't give them a choice. And he goes, and nobody gave us any pushback. And it was just so happy to see, okay, everybody embraced it and they accept that this is a good thing. And so there's so much opportunity for specification and regulation for all future stuff going in, but the revisit, there is so much irrigation out there, and there's a tremendous amount of what I'll call doing a site survey, walking the site, running the zones, and implementing common sense and going, geez, those are inefficient nozzles. Oh, let me unthread that one and put on the one that's going to save 30, lay the water 30% more efficiently. And then the brain of the irrigation system, the controller, taking hyper local weather in terms of temperature, humidity, wind speed, probability of rain as future data, and past tense data in terms of rainfall, which we're looking at 200,000 weather stations on the surface of the earth, 40,000 flights a day that we're pulling weather data from, barometric pressure from cell phones with the Weather Underground app on it. And so, I mean, the accuracy of this data, there's satellite imaging
compared to what, 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's huge difference.
Taking that information and applying it to the water schedule to make an intelligent decisions about when to increase, decrease, or eliminate altogether, which if it's a standalone controller, doesn't have any of those features whatsoever. And it's like it
should be a no-brainer to upgrade every client's system to that.
In my heart, it's about water conservation. To the homeowner, and the reality of the situation is everything and anything that talks to their phone feels good. And that's the primary driver. And if that's the driver, great, because we're doing good and it feels good for them. So,
well, and it's, we've wasted water for a really long time because it was cheap for what it sustains life, our lives, plants' lives, grass life. It's been pretty cheap, but I think in a lot of states it's costing more and more, as it should, because we need it for drinking. No doubt. Go ahead.
Though I was going to say what has really opened up my eyes, being Midwest based. Again, cost is what drives conservation, unfortunately, in my neck of the woods, because we look and we're like, well, we got Lake Michigan, we got Lake Erie, we got Superior, we have these great lakes, we got plenty of water. But then, I talked to my coworker, Christine Hawkins, who's in the Bay Area, and she's like, Kev, she goes, the vast majority of the West Coast doesn't even own what they call the watershed, right? The rainwater that falls in their yard, they don't own it. It's not theirs. That's what a scarcity water is. So it's always, regardless of, anytime you travel, you get perspective and you learn more. And then this new role, the last year traveling nationally, it's crazy that what those different drivers are in different areas. But yeah, water is a precious natural resource that we only have so much of, and we have to use it wisely. And so it's new business for contractors to revisit existing systems and existing clients.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. And give it the appropriate amount of water, right? Yeah. So for it to be vibrant and green. And unfortunately, a not smart controller is going to water the same all year round. And we have seasonal changes, spring, fall, things fall off on the shoulders. So to be
grass stops growing, it goes a bit dormant.
Sure.
Well, but you were talking about California. I was amazed to learn that in Louisiana, which I think of as quite a lot of water everywhere, and it rains all year long, heavy downpours sometimes, sunny too. But our underwater freshwater aquifers are depleting at a record rate too, and we're not replenishing them. And so it's, you know, obviously California, it's a much more scarce,
No doubt.
you know, but it's everywhere. And I think, as if we're going to make a difference, our industry has so much potential to make a difference in everybody's lives. Um,
Absolutely.
the healthiness of being outdoors, the greenery, absorbing CO2, everything. We're a huge factor in, um, an important factor in everybody's lives, whether they realize it or not. And we have that potential to save the resources and use them wisely, I think. And
I could agree with you more.
yeah, I and drum roll, you're
Yeah.
going to be
So here's what we're gonna
leading
do
a
about it.
raffle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's what we're gonna do about it. I'm gonna lasso together a bunch of our EPA water sense approved products, right? And to get that messaging out, we're gonna do a raffle. We'll do one at Synced Live, but in the
Yeah.
lead up to Synced Live, we haven't crafted it yet. Angelique and I are working on it, what it actually looks like, but we are going to run something digitally through social where we will have a secondary raffle. So even though you can't attend Sync Live event, we'll still have an opportunity to get exposure and win some of these EPA water sense approved products, because that's who Hunter is, right? And
Yeah.
that's what we're about. We're Southern California based. We know it. Water conservation is not a buzzword for us to sell more product. I mean, if you meet Greg Hunter and you meet the leadership at our company and you spend 5 minutes with him, it is a genuine driver for our organization.
Yeah.
When you were
Oh,
talking about outside in the CO2, this was something that came up the other day. I was doing a continued ed in St. Louis. And have you ever heard of grounding? It's kind of a new thing
no.
in terms of, like, they're in health and fitness, they're saying you should be barefoot and have your
Oh,
feet in
okay.
contact with the earth for like
I
8 minutes
have
a
heard
day.
that, but I didn't
Okay.
realize it was called
Because
grounding.
yeah, because you get electricity from the earth, right? And more than 80% of the population of the US is vitamin D deficient. Okay. And we know we can solve that with 20 minutes of sunlight a day. And so, labor is the biggest issue in terms of execution of work in our industry. So, I'm crafting some content right now because, look, we don't take our work boots off on the site, but our hands come in contact with the soil for
That's
extended periods of
grounding.
time, and that's
Yeah.
grounding. And you have sunlight, and you can get your vitamin D, and you're outside in green space, and we all know what that does for your cognitive ability.
Yeah.
And so, and it reduces anxiety. I mean, I can go on the laundry list of all the positive effects of green space. And I'm trying to use that and be my micro influence to get messaging out to people like, hey, this is a cool industry. And if
Yeah.
you're about health, right, and these things and moving around and being in green space, and you want it grounding, you want your sunlight, physical fitness, right? Whether you're moving a shovel
Mm,
or you're moving a weight in a gym, it is physical fitness. And that is scientifically
healthy.
the only thing that has been proven to slow down or stop cognitive decline.
Mm,
It can't be argued. I mean, it's like data proven. So perhaps we can attract some talent into our industry, because I think we're in the
yes,
coolest industry there is.
we are.
And my one of my personal missions is to make sure that everybody else in the world knows it before my time's up.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Well, and I read an article, and I never like to use garden gloves, and I know it makes my nails all ragged and all that, but
Same
I
here.
love digging in the soil with my hands and, and gardening that way. And I read somewhere that there's something in the soil that actually it's like healthy for you. I mean, I don't, anyway, I shouldn't
We're
bring
over.
up something
Yeah,
I only know half the story of, but
that no, that's okay. We call that bro science. That's
bro
what I
science.
heard,
Okay.
man. I think it works. Try it out.
Good,
No,
good.
no, it is. I'm very excited for Sync Live. We'll figure out what the guardrails are and how we get this raffle off the ground. But yeah, all the way up the chain of command, they love the idea, and so I cannot wait to participate and be a part of it this year. And as long as my back's a little off right now, I don't know what's going on, but if hopefully by Synked Live, if there's maybe we'll go to a local distributor or grounds there outside. I like to race trenchers and things of that nature, to just bring, again, we're trying to draw positive
raise money for cancer study.
And thank you so much for your very generous donation. And we were able to raise over $2,200 for the American Cancer Society.
That's amazing. Great job.
Every dollar donated was a raffle ticket entry into $28,000 in contractor relevant products. And we're going to up that next year, and do it again. I think what we're going to do next year, and this is probably a good closer, is I'm 46 years of age. I don't feel it, right? But occasionally my body tells me I am. And there are a lot of folks on social that say, hey, you dig like a wimp. I could have outdug you and that machine and not broken a sweat. And so to those that have that strong conviction, I say it's time to put your shovel where your mouth is. So we're going to have a contest next year. We'll start at the beginning of the summer, where if anyone posts a video of them digging a 20-foot trench 6 inches deep, whoever has the fastest time, Hunter Industries is going to fly them to the Equip Expo, which is the best outdoor living space show in North America. We'll put them up for a couple of nights. I will get them their own custom speed suit, and they can race the Geo Ripper.
I think that's a great idea. And
I'll do the blow by blow. I'll keep my hands dirty. If he gets injured or something, I'll step in. But I mean, I want somebody in their 20s, this is what they do. And so hopefully that'll help breathe more life to it, and we'll raise more money for charity. The content that week, it was wild. We had multiple pieces go viral. The previous year when we did it, I think we did pretty good. We reached like 300,000 the first year, and we were overshadowed by the battery operated zero radius lawnmower that caught fire, right? That was the viral content. They stole our thunder. I know. But this year, just through the Hunter feed and my professional feed, in the week of that event, we reached over 1.5 million people. Yeah, we had three different pieces of content go viral. So we're hoping some of that audience sticks, and we're able to increase the messaging. And shout out to my buddy Justin Richards, the sprinkler dude. I have to do it. Selfish play. He has helped me so much in terms of digital editing and content. He's a service tech for Conserva out of Florida, and he's very influential within our industry. But he is he literally is like, hey, here are the apps I use. Do you want me to train you on how to use them? I mean,
that's fantastic.
I can't say enough. And that is just like, that's a testament to the type of people that are in our industry. That's why I love it.
Yeah. Great, Kevin. Well, you want to tell people, if they're not following you already, where they should go?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first and foremost, hunterindustries.com or fxl.com. Those are the websites for our primary lines of business. And we've redesigned the websites. They are slick. You will have a fun digital experience with our brand. If you want to follow me, it's Kevin Battistoni, which is bat, like a baseball bat with 2 T's. is, and then Toni, Tony with an I. So Bat is Tony. Easiest way to do it. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so it's sometimes there's anecdotal humor, but most of the time I'm trying to bring awareness to things that I think will add value and profitability to your companies.
Love it. Thanks so much, Kevin.
No, thank you so much.
We'll schedule more time next time.
Yeah, 100%. Or you know what it is? You just got to give me like one rigid topic. Like these are the guardrails, Kevin. You cannot squirrel on me. Just stay. No,
I love all the discussion. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Take care, Angelique.